Well, here's my word. Get out of my way. Now. For decades, the Newport Beach mansion has held John Wayne's darkest secrets. When he died in 1979, his house was immediately sealed. Every photo, letter and personal item had been locked away for over 30 years. In 2011, they finally opened the doors, and what they discovered inside stunned everyone. From record-breaking movie props to the shocking will that tore his family apart. Here's the story of what really happened to the prince's fortune. John Wayne was born Marion Robert Morrison on May 26, 1907 in Winterset, Iowa. When he was born, he weighed 13 pounds, which was so unusual that the local newspaper reported it. From the very beginning he seemed destined to be larger than life. When he was only 3 years old, he almost died when he fell into an icy stream. A passing stranger saved him, and that moment showed the kind of resilience he would carry with him throughout his life. His name changed early. When his parents had another son, they decided to name the child Robert. So Marion's middle name was changed to Mitchell. This change may seem small, but it foreshadowed larger transformations that were to come later. In 1914, the family moved to Glendale, California, because his father's business failed. In Glendale, Marion gained the nickname Duke because of his Airedale Terrier, also named Duke. The two were always together, and local firefighters began calling them Big Duke and Little Duke. Marion liked it and the nickname stuck. Growing up, Marion loved football. In 1925, he received a football scholarship to the University of Southern California. He studied law and was a member of the Sigma Chi fraternity. However, his football dreams ended when he injured his shoulder in a body surfing accident. Losing the scholarship was devastating. He thought his plans were ruined. But this accident actually pushed him down the path that brought him fame. After retiring from football, Marion found a job at Fox Studios in 1927. He worked as a prop man, earning $35 a week. It wasn't anything flashy, but it gave him a chance. His first screen appearance was not as an actor but as an uncredited American football player in the 1926 film Brown of Harvard. During this time, he became friends with director John Ford. Ford saw something in him and gave him some advice, even suggesting he change his name to something stronger. After considering several options, they chose John Wayne, a name that would become legendary. Wayne's early acting career was difficult. Between 1930 and 1939, he starred in over 80 low-budget westerns, sometimes shooting the entire film in just 2 days. He barely earned enough money to survive, and often ate only one meal a day. A can of beans heated on a hot stove. By 1938, he was so discouraged by his lack of success that he thought about giving up acting altogether. Everything changed with Stagecoach in 1939. The movie was a big deal, but casting Wayne wasn't easy. The studio wanted a famous actor like Gary Cooper, but John Ford insisted on Wayne, even threatening to leave the project if they did not agree. In the film, Wayne played Ringo the Kid, a criminal with a strong sense of justice. His first scene became iconic as the camera zoomed in on his face while holding a rifle. It only lasted a few seconds, but it took 27 takes to get it right because Wayne was so nervous. Stagecoach was a hit, earning 7 Oscar nominations and winning 2. Wayne's performance made him an overnight star. Although the film was a success, he was paid only $3,700, much less than famous actors. Still, it changed his life. After this film, Wayne was seen as the ultimate Western hero. He turned down roles in films like The Maltese Falcon and High Noon because he didn't want to let go of his image. This decision helped him become a symbol of American toughness and masculinity. John Wayne and John Ford worked together for over 50 years and made 14 films that changed Hollywood. Their collaboration began in 1928, when Ford gave Wayne a small role as an extra in the film Mother Machree. But the real beginning of their success came in 1939 with Stagecoach. This movie made Wayne a star. The two had a complicated professional relationship. Ford was hard on actors, and Wayne often got the worst of it. On the set of The Searchers in 1956, Ford had Wayne repeat a simple scene by simply raising his gun 17 times in front of everyone, which embarrassed him. But Wayne never complained. He credited Ford's rugged style with helping him perform his best. The Searchers wasn't even recognized by the Oscars when it came out. But today it is considered one of the best films ever made. their last film together, 1963's Donovan's Reef, almost didn't get made. Wayne wasn't sure if he should take the role because he felt too old for it. Ford was also in poor health and struggling with alcoholism, but Wayne convinced him to direct. They shot the film in Hawaii, where the heat was unbearable, sometimes reaching 100 degrees Fahrenheit. During filming, Ford became so ill with shingles that he had to direct some scenes while lying on a stretcher. Despite these struggles, the film was completed and was quite a success. Unlike their serious westerns, this film was more of a comedy, showing that they could work in different styles even towards the end of their careers. Wayne's first Oscar nomination came with Sands of Iwo Jima in 1949. He played Sergeant John Stryker, a tough Marine. Initially, Wayne didn't want the role because he felt it was too similar to other characters he had already played. Republic Pictures president Herbert Yates had to personally convince Wayne, offering him $250,000 and a share of the profits, which was a huge sum at the time. The film was difficult to make. Director Alan Dwan wanted the battle scenes to feel real, so they used real flamethrowers and explosives. This caused injuries on set, including one explosion that knocked Wayne unconscious for half an hour. Filming was interrupted for 2 days. The film also included real footage from the Battle of Iwo Jima. Thanks to the U.S. Marine Corps, they allowed the filmmakers to use rare combat footage that was so well integrated into staged scenes that many people thought the entire movie was real. One iconic scene showed the flag being raised on Mount Suribachi, using the original flag from the battle. 3 of the surviving Marines who raised this flag even appeared in the film. Despite Wayne's success and powerful performance, he lost the Oscar to Broderick Crawford in All the King's Men. Ironically, Wayne turned down the lead role in this film because he considered it un-American. This loss saddened him, and it was 11 years before he was nominated again. Wayne's dream project, 1960's The Alamo, was one of the riskiest films he ever made. He had wanted to make this film for over 15 years and ended up mortgaging his house, cars and even a boat to finance it. The production cost $12 million, which was a huge amount at the time. Wayne insisted on building a full-scale replica of the Alamo in Texas, which took 2 years and required over 1.5 million adobe bricks. Everything was historically accurate, down to the smallest details, such as the nails from the 1830s. The plan became a tourist attraction and remained open until 2009. Shooting the Alamo was a huge effort. They used over 7,000 extras, 1,500 horses and shot for 79 days in brutal heat that, at times, reached 110 degrees Fahrenheit. There were also accidents. In one scene, an extra was wounded with a bayonet and needed 26 stitches. Despite the challenges, Wayne refused to take the easy way out. The premiere of the movie was a big event with a parade and fireworks. Although the film received 7 Oscar nominations, including Best Picture, critics were mixed and the box office failed to cover the huge costs. Wayne wasn't even nominated for Best Director, which left him deeply disappointed. Still, the film has had a lasting impact on how people remember the history of the Alamo. In 1970, Wayne finally won an Oscar for True Grit. He played Rooster Cogburn, a one-eyed U.S. Marshal. Wayne almost didn't take the role because he felt too old and was still recovering from lung cancer surgery. But after reading the novel, he realized that this could be the role of a lifetime. Filming wasn't easy. It took place in Colorado, where the cold weather and high altitude were difficult on Wayne's health. He had to use an oxygen tank between scenes. At one dangerous moment, his horse tripped on a steep hill, almost throwing him off. Wayne tore a muscle in his shoulder, but continued to play Rooster Cogburn. Wayne gained weight and wore an eye patch that made it difficult for him to see. He had to memorize the scenery to avoid crashing into something. His performance was unlike anything he had done before, and the audience loved it. The film grossed over $31 million and became one of the biggest hits of his career. At the Oscars, Wayne accepted the award with the famous statement, "If I had known that, I would have put that Band-Aid on 35 years earlier." He had the flu that evening but refused to miss the ceremony. Some felt that Wayne's Oscar was more for his long career than for the role itself. Even Wayne later admitted that it felt like a career reward. Still, Rooster Cogburn became one of his most iconic characters, and the film's success cemented his position as one of Hollywood's biggest stars. John Wayne's love life was full of ups and downs, with 3 marriages in almost 50 years. His first wife, Josephine Sayans, married him in 1933. At this time, Wayne's career was just beginning to take off. They had 4 children, but Wayne's growing fame kept him away from home. The situation worsened even further when in 1938 he began a secret affair with actress Marlene Dietrich. Wayne tried to repair his marriage, even taking Josephine to Mexico in 1943 to spend time together. But this failed. In 1945 they divorced. His second marriage, to Esperanza Bauer in 1946, was wild and troubled. Esperanza, a former actress from Mexico, was very jealous. She thought Wayne was having an affair with his co-star, Gail Russell, while filming Angel and the Badman in 1947. Her jealousy came to a head one night when Wayne came home late after a party. Esperanza was drunk and so angry that she grabbed a gun and tried to shoot him when he came through the door. Fortunately, no one was hurt, but their marriage didn't last long after that. They divorced in 1954. Wayne's third marriage, to Pilar Pallet, began in 1954. They remained married until his death in 1979. They had 3 children together and things seemed more stable for a while. But in 1973 Wayne and Pilar split up. Wayne then moved in with his secretary, Pat Stacey. Even though they lived separately, Wayne and Pilar never officially divorced. Wayne's affair with Marlene Dietrich was no secret in Hollywood. It began during the filming of 7 Sinners in 1938 and lasted for almost 10 years. Wayne was still married to Josephine at the time, but that didn't stop him from spending nights at the Dietrich house. They were both very passionate towards each other. They wrote letters to each other, openly sharing their feelings. Dietrich even used her influence to help Wayne's career. She made sure he landed leading roles in films such as The Spoilers in Pittsburgh in 1942. Their romance ended in 1947, but they remained close friends for the rest of their lives. Dietrich often called Wayne the love of her life. One of Wayne's most talked about friendships was with Maureen O'Hara. Together they appeared in 5 films, starting with Rio Grande in 1950. Their most famous film was The Quiet Man in 1952. Fans loved their chemistry so much that many thought they were a couple in real life. O'Hara even made a joke about an old woman on the street who thought she was Wayne's wife. Wayne's children called her Auntie Maureen, showing how close she was to her family. Years later, O'Hara's grandson admitted that Wayne and O'Hara had a brief affair, but said it wouldn't have worked out because they were both too strong-willed. Still, O'Hara stood by Wayne until the end. When he was dying of cancer, she helped him win a congressional medal to honor his legacy. In recent years, Wayne found solace in Pat Stacey, his secretary. After breaking up with Pilar, Pat became his partner and guardian. She was 34 years younger than Wayne, but they had a deep bond. Pat stayed with him throughout his cancer treatment, managing his life and providing him with support. They lived together from 1973 until Wayne's death in 1979. After his death, Pat wrote a book titled Duke, a love story in 1983. The book detailed their time together and showed a softer, more sensitive side of Wayne that fans rarely saw. Pat never married and devoted her life to keeping Wayne's memory alive. She died in 1995. In 1964, when John Wayne was 57, doctors told him he had lung cancer. It was shocking, but not surprising. Wayne smoked heavily, up to 6 packs of cigarettes a day for years. Doctors decided to remove his left lung and 2 ribs to save his life. The surgery was risky and the chance of survival was only 50%. But Wayne survived and lived cancer-free for 5 years. Most people could keep their illness a secret, but not Wayne. He decided to tell the world about her. His advisors warned him that it could harm his career, but Wayne didn't care. He wanted to help others by encouraging them to get checked for cancer. He even came up with a nickname for the cancer, calling it Big C to make it less scary. In 1965, a year after surgery, he appeared in a television advertisement for the American Cancer Society. He asked people to support cancer research and take the disease seriously, but cancer didn't end him. In 1979, Wayne learned he had stomach cancer. He tried an experimental vaccine, but it wasn't enough. Even as his health deteriorated, Wayne continued to speak. From his hospital bed, he recorded messages asking for more funding for cancer research. In the weeks before he died, he was telling people they could find a cure for cancer without your help. But I wouldn't bet my life on it. Wayne's last film was 1976's The Shootist. It was about an aging gunslinger dying of cancer and seemed very close to Wayne's real life. He was 68 when he shot it and his health was poor. He often needed oxygen between scenes, but was determined to perform his own stunts. In one scene, he had to fall on a hard floor several times. He never complained. The film was a success and people saw it as a farewell to Wayne. He even changed the ending to fit his strong image. In the original story, his character was shot in the back. Wayne refused, saying, "I've never shot a man in the back in any movie. Change it." The film grossed $13.4 million and gave Wayne a chance to say goodbye in a role that reflected his own courage. Wayne died on June 11, 1979, at the age of 72. He died at UCLA Medical Center after months of battling stomach cancer. His death was a big moment for Hollywood and its fans. President Jimmy Carter called him larger than life and a true American hero. Thousands of fans gathered outside the hospital and his home to leave flowers, notes, and even cowboy hats. His star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame became a place where people lit candles and remembered him. Wayne's funeral was private, but a public memorial service was later held so fans could say goodbye. The broadcast was broadcast on television and was watched by millions of people. The U.S. Naval Academy named him an honorary member of its class of 1979, even though he never served in the military. After his death, Orange County Airport was renamed John Wayne Airport, showing how much he meant to people. In 1985, Wayne's family established the John Wayne Cancer Foundation to honor his memory and continue his fight against cancer. They wanted to make sure that his name would always symbolize courage and strength. The foundation helped found the John Wayne Cancer Institute, which became a leader in cancer research. It has created new treatments, such as early detection of cancer, which have saved many lives. At the time of John Wayne's death, his estate was worth $6.85 million in 1979, which would be approximately $25 million today. For someone as famous and successful as him, it didn't seem like much. People expected his net worth to be much higher because he was one of the highest paid actors of his time. This could mean that Wayne spent a lot of money during his life or was very generous with his money. Not all of his assets were included in the estate either. For example, he sold his beloved yacht, Wild Goose, for $750,000 shortly before his death. This yacht, once a World War II minesweeper, was an important part of his life, and its sale adds to the mystery of how much he actually left behind. Wayne loved real estate, and his home in Newport Beach was one of his most famous properties. He bought it in 1965 and lived there until his death in 1979. The house was on the water, overlooking Balboa Island. It looked simple from the street, but inside it was grand and luxurious, just like Wayne's personality. After his death, the house was sold for $5.5 million in 1980, a huge amount for the time. Before moving to Newport Beach, Wayne owned a 5-acre ranch in Encino. At the age of 58, he left the ranch to live by the water and start a quieter life. He also owned properties in Arizona and Washington, showing his love of different landscapes and his good eye for real estate. Wayne once joked that moving to Newport Beach years earlier was smart because I certainly couldn't afford it at the time. When Wayne's will was revealed after his death in 1979, it caused a lot of drama. The biggest shock was that he left nothing to his third wife, Pilar Paletti. They were married for over 20 years but separated in 1973, 6 years before his death. Although they did not divorce, Wayne left most of his estate to his 7 children from his first 2 marriages. This decision led to speculation about their relationship and why Paletti was not included. Years later, the drama continued. In 2010, Wayne's daughter Isa sued her brother Ethan and John Wayne Enterprises, disputing her share of the company. Wayne's children also received personal items and mementos in his will, but these also became points of tension. Disagreements over these heirlooms further aggravated family disputes, showing how the division of property created long-lasting problems. In 2011, something amazing happened for John Wayne fans. More than 700 items from his life and career were auctioned. This grand event took place from October 6th to 7th at the Hyatt Century Plaza in Los Angeles. Fans and collectors had the chance to own elements of his personal life and film career. Many of these items had been locked away since Wayne's death in 1979. On that day, his house was closed and all of his belongings were sent to storage. It was like opening a time capsule after over 30 years. The auction included all sorts of things. There were costumes, props, awards and even furniture from his home. Some items were extremely unique. For example, his scripts showed how he worked on his films. The script for The Horse Soldiers had pages folded to mark completed scenes. Other scripts, such as Wednesday Morning, were neat and perfect, showing how organized he was. Then there were personal items like books, clothes and his latest driver's license. Even a collection of his colorful scarves that he loved to wear sold for $10,755. Some items broke records. His green beret from the 1968 film The Green Berets sold for $179,250, setting a record for a costume hat. People loved it because it symbolized one of his most famous films. Another hit was his cowboy hat, worn in movies like Big Jake and the Cowboys. The film sold for $119,500. Wayne's Golden Globe for his role in True Grit also attracted a lot of attention and sold for $143,400. This award was special because it was tied to his only Oscar-winning role. Even small, everyday things sold for huge amounts. His latest driver's license, something so ordinary, sold for $89,625. This set a driving license record. His True Grit eye patch also sold for $47,800. Clothing items such as pants from the Alamo and a shirt worn in several films have sold for thousands of dollars. These items allow fans to feel connected to him in a very real way. The auction not only showcased his film career, but also revealed who he was as a person. One particular item was a gold-plated Winchester rifle that he gave to his friend Bob Shelton. It sold for $13,315 and showed Wayne's generous side. His books gave insight into what he liked to read, topics such as history and military strategy. An unexpected element was his shell collection, which showed a softer side of his personality that people didn't see very often. One of the most valuable exhibits was a portrait of Wayne by artist John Decker. It sold for $71,700. Wayne kept this painting in his home, which showed how much it meant to him. The auction also included family photos, letters and even home furniture. These things gave fans a closer look at his private life. They showed that in addition to being a Hollywood star, John Wayne was also a father, a friend, and someone who had deep connections to his family and the people he cared about. In 1971, John Wayne gave an interview to Playboy magazine that caused a lot of anger and people are still talking about it to this day. He made some shocking statements that showed his controversial views. His most commented comment was when he said, "I believe in white supremacy until blacks are educated to the point of responsibility." He was 63 years old and very famous then. But this wasn't a one-off incident. He said things like this before. In the same interview, he also talked about the Indians, saying he didn't think it was wrong to take their land, calling it a matter of survival. He even criticized the movie Midnight Cowboy, calling it perverted and using a homophobic slur. Years later, in February 2019, this interview returned to the spotlight when someone shared parts of it on Twitter. The writer called Wayne a terrible person and the tweet went viral. Suddenly, people started debating his legacy again. Some wanted him cancelled, while others argued whether his words should define how we remember him. His comments, even after all these years, sparked big discussions about the responsibility of famous people and how their words can hurt. This controversy wasn't just limited to social media. It also attracted attention to things named after him, such as John Wayne Airport in Orange County, California. The airport received its name in 1979 after Wayne's death, but in 2020 people began calling for a change. This occurred during nationwide protests following the murder of George Floyd. On June 26, 2020, the local Democratic Party formally requested that the airport be renamed, saying Wayne's statements did not align with Orange County's values of diversity and inclusion. Orange County used to be a very conservative area, but it has changed a lot. It became more diverse and politically competitive. and Democrats won every congressional seat in 2018. Some felt leaving Wayne's name at the airport sent the wrong message to minority communities. Others, like Wayne's son Ethan, defended him. Ethan said his father was not a racist and accused people of unfairly attacking his legacy. In 2025, the airport is still named after Wayne.